Very much for joining earlier the today ARIR Gala. The official session, of course, will start a bit later, but we are inviting you to attend a special session with our two dear international guests that had this flight to Romania today. Thank you very much for joining us. So the first session that we are proposing to you is with a dear friend of ARIR. Oscar Yassar is a global leader in executive recruitment, in investor relations and corporate communication. So we're aiming to that, of course. With nearly 30 years experience at the coalface of this industry, he has helped appoint more than 500 senior investor relations and corporate communication professionals globally. Warm applause for Oscar this evening.
Thank you very much, Daniela. Thank you for that incredibly warm introduction.
Tough job to warm this day event.
Bless you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen and fellow IR professionals, it gives me enormous pleasure to be here at this incredible event, I think truly showcasing the significant advancements in the world of investor relations here in Romania and further afield. If I can take this opportunity to congratulate the association for putting on an incredible event and also the gala later. But if I also may take this opportunity to thank Daniela for her amazing commitment and her energy and her passion for the world of investor relations. I have to say, I thought I was the most passionate person about investor relations before you came on board.
It's still you.
Bless you. And I have to also say that the IR revolution is definitely real in this region and further afield. We've come a very long way in the world of investor relations. I think it showcases to me how far we have come by seeing so many of you here in this room, and I think the energy and the sophistication and the passion for IR is going to take you a long way. So congratulations on your 5-year anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Ironically, I actually met Daniela a few years ago, and when she had just set up the association. And even 5 years ago seems like a completely different generation ago. And I, for one, am excited by the significant new dynamics of investor relations and capital markets here in Romania and further afield. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, from really a standing start, from almost nothing a few years ago to, I think, one of the most ambitious, sophisticated and energetic markets I've met. And trust me, I've been around the world, having just flown back from the Middle East for a similar IR conference. And so we've definitely come a long way in this region. I'll just move to the stage. As I say, the IR revolution has... Can you hear me? As I said, the IR revolution has come a long way. We have really transformed our markets. We'll soon be publishing our latest groundbreaking study, which is called the Global IR Revolution, and with our friends at IR Magazine. And it really is the first time our global industry has come together to not just look at where we've come from as an industry, but more importantly, where we're all going as an industry. So I've been asked to share with you exclusively, this is one of the first forums that I'll be sharing some of the preliminary results of more than 200 interviews with some of the leading IROs globally, as well as our unique AI technology that interviewed more than 2,000 candidates for their aspirations and their ambitions, but also, importantly, taking into account a lot of the regional IR associations. We have every single IR association who have taken part. Again, our friends here in Romania, the likes of near in America, UK, Germany, even as far afield as Spain, Israel, Australia, Hong Kong, Mexico, Canada. So this really is the first time we've come together to really showcase what an amazing profession we now hold within investor relations. So we can fairly say that this is definitely a report and a study which I recommend you all read as and when it's published, because it's important for every single one of us in this room to really come together and really showcase what we've done and what more we're likely to achieve. But more importantly, I think, really to show a level of ambition and show a level of credibility and visibility. And I have to say, the more we come together at events like this, the more that we really showcase what makes great investor relations, ultimately it's in our interests. The higher the salaries, the higher the budgets, also the higher the fees for me, who obviously works in headhunting. And so I think that one thing that's definitely clear is that there has been, let's just make sure that there's definitely been a significant revolution, because there's been a new entrance to the world of investor relations. Most of the new entrants coming into the world of investor relations have got financial qualifications, they have ACAs, they have CFAs, they have lots of MBAs as well. And really, one thing that I want to showcase is what an attractive profession investor relations has really, truly become. So gone are the days, I think, where, similar to what we talked about earlier, that investor relations, even in America, in the UK, in Germany, used to really be a back office function. It used to be a function every 6 months you had to report your results. IR is now becoming the most important function internally because of the dynamics of the markets. CEOs have recently realized the importance of the role of investor relations. So we truly have, I think, come a long way. I think also, something I say to all my senior candidates is your careers are now dependent on your ambition. So it really is as simple as that. I think what's happened, particularly in the UK and America and wider field, is these IROs are now taking on very senior leadership roles. They're taking on directors of strategy, directors of corporate development, directors of M&A, in many, many cases also directors of corporate affairs. We now sit at the board table when decisions are being made. 10 years ago, that was never the case. It's because of the realization that CEOs and CFOs now value the importance of investor relations. And I have absolute confidence that the same is going to be here for this market as well. I think what's also been interesting within our markets is the realization that senior managers, senior management, now realize that their careers are dependent on how they communicate with their financial capital markets. So if their careers, if a CEO and a CFO now realizes that whatever they say to the financial capital markets has an impact on their careers, of course they're going to bring in a very senior, credible, sophisticated IRO. So in the UK we call it a proxy CEO and a CFO. There's also been a significant change in the investor markets. We have AI technology, we've got activist shareholders, we have significant demands now on senior management and the IR teams. But all that's resulted in, I think, has been a stronger, a more credible, a more strategic investor relations function. And you've seen it across the board. You see it across the board where you've got former IROs who've become CEOs and CFOs of some of the world's largest organizations. I'll say that again. These are former investor relations officers who've become the CEOs and CFOs of some of the world's largest organizations. So our industry has definitely come a long way. And I think ultimately, to conclude, is with this latest and groundbreaking study, it's clear that there's been an irrefutable, dramatic and tectonic shift in our industry, but that I think our industry is safe with the knowledge that I personally have with seeing new entrants who've come into the world of investor relations who are, again, more sophisticated, more ambitious, more credible, who are far more forward-thinking than they've ever been. So I've got complete confidence that not only the markets here in Romania are going to advance, but the markets globally will advance, because it's shown, the data shows that. You have many, many more IROs taking over very senior leadership functions. My final point is I started my career in headhunting 20 years ago. I had a lot of hair when I started in headhunting, and prior to that, I used to be an IR advisor, advising some of the world's biggest organizations on their IR strategies. And since, even in the past 10 years, our industry has come a long way. So I want to congratulate you, Daniela, the team here, and the association for bringing you all together to not just celebrate the important role of investor relations, but what more we can achieve as a group. So thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oscar. Looking forward to share the full study to our members, of course. And thank you for inviting us to also attend to this, to be part of this study. Here in Romania, we see still a situation where the IR function is split among various departments, some in financials, in legal. Of course, bigger companies have already separate departments. And I want to ask you, what are next steps and how the mechanism of these IR functions could be further changed? What should be changed or could be changed?
Well, that's a great question, Daniel. I think three things. Firstly, the markets have changed. There's now much more pressure on senior management to deliver an IR program. There's many more activist shareholders. There are many more investors taking part in the investor relations program. And because the markets have changed and senior management's understanding of the impact of investor relations has changed, so has the team structure. And again, in the UK, 20 years ago, the IR function used to sit somewhere in the back office of a finance team who'd come out once every 6 months, draft the press release, and then go back and then wait for another 6 months. Because of the markets shifting, because of the senior management's understanding of the importance of IR, has really changed that structure. And so to go back to the initial part of the question, so again, you used to come out of finance, but I think what's now happening is IROs are now sitting right at the top table because they have to sit at the top table. And again, my point during my presentation is a lot of IROs are now taking over the corporate affairs function of a lot of organizations. So these IROs are now taking over the corporate narrative of an organization. So that is, I think that's an exciting trend. So I think the more you all come together and really showcase the importance of the role of IR, the better it is going to be for the future dynamics of the world of investor relations.
Thank you for the insight. And you are recruiting a lot of people and you are discussing with a lot of people. But what takes, it's easy to say, oh, you are now taking a strategic role, but it's not so easy. What do you think are the abilities that a person should work on, and trainings, I don't know, other soft skills that a person should have in order to upgrade its career?
Another great question. It's an area I'm passionate about because I meet scores of very senior candidates, and some of the candidates you've seen on the screen who've now become CEOs and CFOs. And one thing that I think sets people apart, and something I'm very passionate about, something I would encourage you to take away, is the power of personal branding. We all are focused on our day jobs. We all have our heads down, focused on delivering a good IR program. We're very conscientious, we're very good at what we do, but you don't realize that you have your own personal brand. And it's that personal brand that's going to elevate your career. It's going to take you from career A to career B to career C. And if you don't realize that you have power in yourself really to say, okay, 3 years' time, I'm going to ask my CFO to take on another senior leadership role, be it finance role or comms communications role. So if you don't have the confidence in your own ambition and your own personal brand awareness, then nothing is going to happen in your career. People on this list and hundreds of other people who've become senior leaders or director of corporate affairs, what really sets them apart, and I think it's only 5% of individuals, they realize that their own personal brand is what's elevating their careers. And what they're doing is they are taking on more qualifications. Some of them are taking on financial qualifications. Some are going off doing MBAs. Some are also wanting to move into communication. Some are also wanting to remain as a very senior IRO. So there's lots of things that we can do, I think, as not just an industry, but as individuals. So my final point is, as much time as you spend on your IR program, spend as much time on your own personal brand as well. Come to events like this. I mean, work with Daniela, work with the association, really do PR for the profession, go onto LinkedIn. It fascinates me that so many of my candidates don't go on LinkedIn, they don't do any social media to elevate the profession of investor relations. Because as my final point, I'm passionate about this, I'm very, very sorry, is if we don't come together and really wave that flag and bang that drum about the importance of our role, no one is really going to listen and no one is going to hear us. So which is why events, I think, like this, that really elevates the profession is important.
And also, please follow Oscar on LinkedIn. He's also very active, so he can give you some more.
Not as active as you, not as active as you.
Also, we are working on to bring IR to the boards. It's a permanent discussion. In some companies, there are board responsibles for IR, and I'm sure it's an evolution, but they are linked to budgets. You already said that one argument is the market, that the market is changing. What other arguments one can use?
Yeah, I mean, it's another great question. Two answers, I think. Firstly, the more that you have the confidence and the credibility and the ambition that you've shown about doing a good job, and the proximity that you have with senior management. Again, I mentioned IR is a really attractive profession because you're sitting right next to the CEO and to the CFO. So therefore, you as an individual need to, I think, showcase your confidence, your ability, your credibility and your ambition really to say to your CFO, I've done a great job in IR, 3 years, this is what we also need to be doing by bringing in more investors, by attracting more capital, but I can only do that with a bigger budget. And this happens, the reason I know this is, I hear this all the time, where we also have a professional development arm at Bremer's Partnership, where I do the headhunting, and we've got a team of people that really works on candidates' ambition. And one thing that really fascinates me is when you say to a candidate, have you asked your CFO, have you put together a paper to convince your CFO, your CEO about the opportunities of growing the budget or growing the team size or growing the visibility? So again, it's about having the innate confidence of really taking the profession forward, I think.
That makes sense. One pager always works, you know, if you put the right arguments.
Exactly.
And the final question before moving to the second session, and thank you very much, I would encourage our guests to reach to you, right? Because you are
Absolutely.
still here, so please.
I'm here for you. I've come away from London just to be here with you
yes,
guys. So
thank you, and thank you for that.
Very happy to be here.
One final question. The ideal candidate to be promoted to a senior function, CEO, CFO, from IR,
yeah.
How you would describe this ideal candidate?
Yeah, 3 things. Visible ambition, but with the ambition of taking people with you. You can't just be ambitious unless you physically bring people along with your journey. And that's something that really stands out. Secondly, it's the confidence to have a career plan. I don't know, I won't ask for hands, but I don't know how many of you here every day think about your 3 to 5 year career path. What am I going to do today that's going to affect my career in 3 years' time? And so these individuals that are getting the bigger jobs, the bigger salaries, the bigger bonuses, are those that have put a mathematical equation together for their career. In 3 years' time, I want to do this. And thirdly, it's about actually having the confidence to interact with the board. Big shoulders, chest out, head up, and go for it. Because if you don't go for it, then someone behind you is going to take your role. So it's a simple equation, I think. Life is a mathematical equation. It's very simple, but we all seem to confuse the mathematical equation and therefore the answer.
Thank you very much, Oscar. I would
pleasure.
love to continue that, but time pressure us.
My
Thank you very
pleasure,
much.
my
Big
pleasure.
applause for Oscar.
My pleasure. And thank you very much, and congratulations again. Thank you.
We are continuing the first session of our gala, and thank you for joining us a bit earlier, with Florence Pindel, Secretary General of European Issuers. Welcome to Romania, first of all. Applause for her. We are bringing the microphone back. So, Ms. Florence Pindel leads in Brussels a team with strategic and operational know-how from the work of the Federation of European Risk Management Association. But at this moment, you are leading European Issuers in the executive team. European Issuers is an association of listed companies in Europe, and ARIR is part of that organization. Well, we have prepared difficult questions because, you know, what comes from Brussels, we have noticed that's very difficult. So we are here to translate a bit of that ideas that you think the European Commission has as a priorities. And I would like to ask you, what are the priorities on which you are working together with your team and the European issuers?
Thank you, Daniela. It's really a pleasure to be here today and to hear also the challenges that the profession is facing with the previous speaker. European issuers will represent the companies listed on stock exchange in Brussels. We exist in 2008 for the reason that after the financial crisis, a lot of regulatory burden were imposed on corporates in order to restore financial stability. And that's why actually we are now in Brussels and growing. I'm very happy to have your presence, I would say, on board. When it comes to the priorities that we are addressing for the moment at the Commission, I think we have, different fronts, different pieces of legislation. The first of all, the priority that we have is connected to the CMU agenda.
Capital Markets Union.
Yeah. Capital Markets Union agenda. The purpose of this Capital Markets Union agenda action plan, we have been working several years on that, is a set of different actions in order to facilitate access to the capital markets, but also encourage companies to remain listed. In this context, there have been a few proposals, notably tackling prospectus regulation, also market abuse regulation, and the introduction of the multiple voting share structure. We are currently finalizing the discussions with the different with the different dialogue with the trialogues, and hopefully, make sure that it will facilitate. So that's one of the first priority: more proportion, more facilitate access to the capital market. The trend in Europe overall is not looking good, so that's important that we reach some outcome on that. Then the second priority is something that you probably come familiar with in your role and your profession, and to follow on the previous speaker, also further education on that we see is needed, is the sustainability agenda. And on that front, we work on the developments. We are at the board of EFRAG. EFRAG is the body that develops the European Sustainability Reporting Standards. I had a conversation before. I understand that it would not be immediately followed here because of size of companies. You have time, so that's good. Nevertheless, I think it will be crucial because it's important in order to secure, the future financing of the corporates overall in Europe. So we advocate for a flexible framework to enable the transition, and it's not always easy in the discussions. There are not only you have the investors, but you have also the NGO and the civil society, and you are probably familiar with those topics. And on that front, we are also following this ESG rating consultation that is there in order to bring more transparency in the methodologies that are applied. And I will finish with the last one, because you asked the priorities for the moment, is the engagement with shareholders in the upcoming review of SRD2. And in that context, the purpose is to facilitate transparency and communication, and particularly looking at the intermediary chain and the discussions that actually you probably have on a regular basis with your shareholders.
Thank you very much. Actually, when we look at the legislative tracker of European issuers, it's like a book in itself. So I'm sure the Commission is super busy. And also we have next year elections, including the European Parliament as well. How we can address and better prepare, because every new mandate comes with surprises. So how we can anticipate this a bit?
It's a very interesting question, and we are currently preparing, I would say, our vision and our manifesto. The first thing I would say is the context has completely changed. I mean, compared to 5 years ago, now we are in a different context, and sometimes I wonder whether we have this ability to have a flexible regulatory approach in general. But so we have to carefully consider the messages that we are going to bring forward, particularly on behalf of the business community in this context, and make sure actually that companies stay listed. It's important in order to support the economy, and particularly with the sustainable finance agenda, because companies need to have access to the financing. So in this context, the initiative to reduce corporate reporting, competitiveness check, and also to tackle barriers to the single market are welcome. So what the Commission could do is prepare and present a comprehensive competitiveness check for each piece of legislation that is under preparation. To improve the competitiveness is essential. For instance, an example is the audit reform. It might result actually, if it's open to unintended consequences for the listed companies and their auditors. Also, we want to ensure that, there is no redundant of objectives. We see sometimes a lack of consideration of better regulation agenda, and it should deserve higher priority. It means by that to encourage all the institutions to sort sometimes potential conflicting objective when it comes to the CMU agenda, for instance. So having clear priorities and stay committed to the priorities through the better regulation agenda when they take political decision, but also at the technical level in the dossier and in the trialogue. Continue reducing the regulatory burden in order to facilitate access to the market. Then sustainability is there, it's essential. So focus first on the implementation, efficient and practical solution instead of adding further layers. And when it comes to the relation with listed companies and their owners, ensure there is actually a smooth shareholder communication and also professional standards. Companies already have acknowledged that. They have already quite a framework around it on corporate governance system that have proven to be efficient in terms of balance and check. So we don't want to see another debate in order to unintentionally weaken or add on the sustainable corporate governance agenda. So those will be, I think, the main message that we will convey, and we are still work in progress. We welcome also your views in this context.
Thank you, and we have provided our input and supported the ESG ratings update and recently reducing the reporting obligations as well. I would like to ask you how feasible and how real you see this European Commission objective of reducing with 25% the reporting obligations. So we are struggling with this as well here.
I don't think I can give you the answer because I think the answer is not yet on the table. But indeed, President von der Leyen, she announced the intention to reduce reporting reduction by 25%. So this was a massive announcement. The different commissions are now working on a work plan. They are presenting, their suggestions, and indeed they carry on consultations to which we have received your response. They ask recommendations on the 20 most burdensome, the most urgent one to be streamlined in place. I think at the moment what is a little bit difficult to see is to see the direction it will be taken, because they will need to define, you know, under which KPI they will assess, you know, this 25%. And for the moment, I don't think, you know, whether it's reduced frequency, reduced scope in terms of the reporting, or some aspects of the regulation. And you have some aspect linked to the sectorial. You have the aspect that you have bring to the table in the relation you have with your own authorities. So are they going to tackle this at the national level, at the European level? I think, you know, there are still, you know, it's still work in progress, but overall I see that as a positive initiative. We are joining forces in Brussels with other business associations, and I think it's a good sign to try to ensure that there is a proper, more efficient, probably, framework for corporates operating in the EU overall.
Thank you very much, and I think having you in Romania is already a good sign that we can do more in order our voice to be heard at the European level. What do you think we could do more? Because, you know, we are a smaller European market. We haven't had a strong voice in the Capital Markets Union design thinking, you know, more than 10 years ago. What we can do now?
No, first, I mean, in front of this audience here, Daniela, I can testify that your voice is heard within European issuers. Cool. So I think it's good to let it know, but indeed, you follow the discussions, bring your views. It's very useful because we don't receive, you know, input if we don't have someone raising the point. So please continue. Do it also with the manifesto, with the vision. Second, maybe something that is a little bit not so well known is European Issuers is also active in different stakeholder groups. We are at the groups at the European Banking Association, at ESMA. We are part also at Market Development Practice Working Group. We are members of the ESRS. There will be developments on the sector-specific standards. Currently, in a few weeks, they will, I think probably January now, because they have a little bit delay, but the consultation on the LSME, VSME standard. So also an opportunity to look at this, participate in the discussion, and if there are some companies that would like to join the discussion in the working groups, they are always welcome to come to us. But you are already doing a lot, I would say, according to the relation that we have together.
Thank you very much for these insights and your presence in Romania. Feel free to approach Florence as well with questions and ideas, and we'll be definitely meeting you later on during the gala. Big applause for Florence as well. Thank you. We are having a small break until 6:30, please, and we are continuing with our gala. Thank you very much.